So I guess my question, and maybe Christine kind of talked about this, about more crafting the message to the legislator instead of coming up with one overarching message. But it seems to me like most advocacy that I've heard about lately has really just been trying to prove that the arts are an economic, the economic, thank you, development of the arts and how important it is to the economy, and it's all about money. And is
it's
that
the economy, stupid? That's
and so that's the question. Is that right. It doesn't seem like we're necessarily making much headway with that argument. So do we need to change the argument? Is there a different argument we should be making, or do we just keep pounding that door?
It's tough. I mean, actually, I think we made a lot of headway with arts economic development, particularly at the height of the Richard Florida craze, and which actually created the position I just left and got me into Austin, which was great. I think we made a lot of and whatever you think of his work, because I used to get calls all the time. Oh, we're going to bring him in. I said, why? Like, you want him to talk about his next book? Great. I mean, I've been around him a lot, but I said, but he put arts and culture at the table with people who never thought we had any economic development or impact, and so we have to thank him for that. But so we have been able to convince people, it's about jobs. And I just the other night was talking about we're having an opening and celebrating 40 years of public art. There's a lot of jobs in the nonprofit sector. The nonprofit sector added jobs in during the recession versus the private sector that was losing jobs. And if you look at the arts nonprofit sector in this community, it's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of economics. So it really is about a mindset of, it's not just this quality of life artists out there. They really are hiring people and contributing to the economy. I mean, again, it's sort of the whole child.
I think if I were you, I would just focus on that specific legislator's district, who are they represent. I'd look at the industries that are there. I just get more literal than more specific, because that's what they respond to.
And along that line of being more literal, have you heard of the Creative Vitality Index, the CVI? It's an actual quantitative way of measuring the creative activity, both for-profit and non-profit, in every city, in any city across this entire state and nation. And right now, the State Arts Commission has that ability to use that measurement in different cities around. The city of Seattle has one of the highest
3.5 times the national average.
Yeah, of the entire nation. So it's a really good tool when you're talking with what we call the authorizing environment. If you look on our website, arts.wa.gov, look at the CVI, the Creative Vitality Index, because it is a way of measuring.
So I'll just push back on a little bit, because I think that it's important that, we can certainly become more savvy and political about how we talk to how we talk to who, and knowing what their interests are, and speaking to their interests and their values. And here's what's true. Authenticity is the most powerful messenger delivery that you can possibly. And if you don't believe that economic arguments are that powerful, don't spout it. Because here's what's will happen. It will be seen as inauthentic. And anyone can, and it's transparent. So if you need someone who really, if you're making a case for that, get someone in the room with you who actually really feels strong and supports the underlying values of what you're trying to do, to get in the room and make that case with you. So you can make the other one that you really believe in. But I do believe that more and more are being called to be more authentic. So what's powerful for you is going to make a much greater impact with whoever you're sitting across the table from, no matter if they're from Spokane and they have a totally different politics than you.
Right.
Authenticity rules.
And if it's economics that's important, then that's fine. If it's social, and you take someone who's,
Right. I was just going to say, I think that also, don't underestimate, in the arts, we have these amazing stories. We have the ability to just have the most compelling narrative, and I think it's that combination of really understanding the hard facts and understanding the outcomes of what you're doing, pairing that with the stories and the narrative, that just like in fundraising, that's what's going to get the donor to write the check, is that combination. So, I was meeting with Frank, it was on Arts and Culture Day, not this last year, but the year before, and I was meeting with the Speaker of the House, Frank Chops. And that's it. And he was saying, he basically said to us, it was a group of us meeting with him, he basically said, my priority is low-income housing or whatever, and I am not, I don't really care so much about the box seats, so to speak. He didn't say this quite, but this is really what he said, and I said, did you know that, and I had happened to be working with an organization at this time that ran this program. I said, did you know that our theater company works inside juvenile detention with students, and then we have a job training program. When they're released, they come to work at our theater, helps transition them off probation and give them job skills. And he was surprised by this, and I think that sometimes people have this idea of the arts that's not really necessarily representative of the whole arts. And so then following up, send him a letter from a student who had participated in that program, send a follow-up letter, as well as with some statistics. So I think it's that powerful combination of telling your story, what is it that your program, or why are you passionate about the arts, as well as understanding the facts, and if they're in a really challenging position, recognizing that, thanking them for what they have done so far, will get you a lot further.
And also asking what their priorities are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
You don't ask question all the time.
Yeah, just really quick, the way you could find this out instead of just guessing what are their priorities. It's just like when you're going to write a grant, the most successful grants come after you have called and spoken with the staff, the grants officer, or the program manager. The same thing with every one of these legislators has just, a very talented young staff that look very much like you, and you speak with their staff members. Okay, some of them look like
That I met.
but never going cold when you have that opportunity to call up one of their staff members and say, hey, what's this message? Or should it be this argument or this argument?
And we're always happy to talk about what our legislators
I know.
are.
As opposed to complaints.
Yeah.
You want to know that?
I work with online in political advocacy for education, and the comment that I was going to make is that I think that there's an avenue here that everyone in this room needs to think about and revisit, and that's, there's sitting in a room with your legislator and talking with them directly, but then there's also the people who give them money for their campaigns. And I think that we're missing a concept if we don't be really honest and realistic about that. And those people, their voice is louder than ours is.
Yeah.
So when you're making an economic argument, you can sit in a room and try and make an economic argument, and obviously you want to keep it, you want it to be authentic and valid. But you can sit there and make an economic argument all you want, but if someone from Boeing is sitting next to you making an economic argument, it's the reality of the situation is that their priorities will be first. But that doesn't mean that avenue is not open to you too. When you look at your organizations and who your funders are, they will match up a lot of times with who those legislators' funders are, and that's who needs to be being the messenger in a lot of cases. And obviously prepare them with the stories and prepare them and have the group includes those valid, true voices. But look at the economics and watch where the money goes, and you can look that up.
When you're talking about the state and federal areas and you want to do advocacy, it is very easy. The other thing that besides the content and having that is also, sometimes it just comes down to sheer numbers, because I've had many legislators who want to be supportive, and they're like, nobody's called. I don't have any emails. And they actually make it easier for you. The Washington State Arts Alliance, I'm sure, has capways here, which you can go right on and you can just send letters directly. You can find out who your person is and send them information right, click, 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 you're done, you've sent your message. And, when they get out there and say, oh, we need to hear from the people, or I haven't heard, then you're just talking about sheer mass. And at some point, sometimes it's, when it gets hairy, it's just sheer mass.